Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I'm going to give you all the details of what went down on the latest Alliance War playtest. So they have been back at it. There's a whole new set of changes that went into a more recent round of playtests. We had multiple wars. This was once again kind of the same group of alliances fighting one another, and my alliance participated in the playtest. And so I can give you very direct feedback about what happened. And what I'm going to walk through is I have a PowerPoint here with all of the details. So I'm going to run through all the details first, and then along the way, I will give you my analysis of what this is going to ultimately mean for alliances. So first of all, as a starting point, there are, I think there are some positive changes from the last version to this one in that there are still more defense rooms. So you go from we go from 8 slots to 10 slots, which, is what it is. I mean, I think some players are concerned about this because, of course, this means that you now have to build a wider roster. I think it's going to be, take longer for newer players to catch up. But we had that in the last version as well. Of the playtest. There was a lot of feedback on it because the way it was in the last playtest was that you had to upgrade these rooms via Stark Tech, and those alliance credits, the things that you get from the stuff that you spend to upgrade up Stark Tech, or you can also get some free elite orbs and things in the war store. That stuff, that currency you had to spend to upgrade your rooms. And people were pretty pissed about that. And there were I know some content creators were rushing to tell people to hoard their credits or whatever. It turns out now those slots are actually, first of all, they're the same as the prior slot. So in the last version, they didn't award war credits and stuff, which was stupid. It created a incentive for the MVP hunter type people to just ignore those rooms because they couldn't get points and war credits and so forth. But also now they're unlocked for free. They're not upgrades; just everyone gets them. Okay, so you don't need to hoard the credits that you're using for Stark Tech or you're using for extra stuff in the War Store. You just get the additional rooms, so that's a positive. I know some people are not going to like the additional rooms. Having to field 10 defensive teams instead of 8. I think means, potentially fewer hybrid teams, but it also means, it's going to require a deeper bench. But the bigger thing is, I think at the very least, the rooms behave the same way. So it's not going to create a situation where no one wants to attack the room because they want the points or they want the war credits or whatever. And you don't have to pay for the upgrade. So that's good. Then there's big changes to war energy. This is a big change from last time because last time, frankly, it was just an absolute mess to get through the war. Now they've changed it, but I'm not sure that this is a positive change. So I'm just going to tell it to you, and then I'll explain to you how it played out. So first of all, now you start with 4 war energy at the start instead of 2. You regenerate 2 war energy every 2 hours for the next 6 hours, and then the war energy cap is now 10 instead of 5, so you don't need to worry about capping out as quickly. Right now, currently in the game, you had a situation where if you bought too much energy, you would go over the cap, or if you bought your extra attacks, you could potentially go over it by mistake or something. And if you bought up to the maximum, if you bought up to 5, got to 5 energy, you would stop ticking new energy, so you wouldn't get energy as fast. This effectively eliminates that with the war energy cap. But the issue is now you basically need to have everyone on the start. The wars basically last 4 to 6 hours now. So if your start time, if you're in zone 1 now and you're starting at 8 p.m. Eastern time, basically the war is going to be over by midnight to 2 a.m., that sort of range, whatever. And so essentially everyone's got to be online at the start. There's going to be a big rush because now you're getting, 4 war energy and you're getting, let's say 6 in the first 2 hours. You just end up, blowing through those globals very quickly. And so if you have an alliance where you have members all over the world in different time zones, that becomes a problem. I think this can end up breaking up alliances. reshuffling alliances. It also just means it really gives a huge advantage to being online. And I've told Scopely my number one issue, I think, is just the amount of time that you're spent in the game. They have done some testing and they found out that's actually accurate, that people are spending way more time than Scopely thought they should be in the game. But, to me, this hurts the issue, right? Because now if you got your kid's soccer game, you got a job, you got to be at work, you got to spend the evening with your spouse, whatever, but you got to be online for the start of your war. To me, that's impractical. Now you can get an additional boost as well. That doesn't bother me. If they're going to have the extra rooms, having an additional boost, like whatever, that's fine. And the costs are reasonable. It doesn't ramp up. So now it's 75, 100, 125, 150, 150 in terms of that currency. That doesn't really bother me. To me, the issue is just, it's fine for a hardcore alliance like mine to have it. Yeah, we'll have an advantage from having everyone on at the start, but I just think it's bad for our lives. It's bad for players. It's really it's going to hurt, I think, a lot of alliances that people are, doing more and more casually, who aren't all right going to be there in the next first few hours. You don't want to be in a situation where you miss your whole war by not being on for the first 2, 3, 4 hours. Basically the war is effectively over, and you also don't want to be in a situation where the folks who are in Europe, let's say in your alliance, don't get their attacks in because the war is effectively over by the time they wake up. That doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think they're going to really have to rethink this. I think, it would have a lot of people in the player base, but we'll see what Scopely does. They've done a lot of things I've disagreed with, so this wouldn't be the first. Okay, then there's this war-ready trait. This is similar to last time, so the last playtest, but if you didn't watch that video, here's the scoop here in detail. So if a character has ISO 4 green, they are, quote, war ready. So this is basically an incentive for all of us to upgrade to ISO 4 green. I will say this would have generated a much bigger outcry back when we did the first playtest. Now I think people are farming up more ISO green and getting more. So it's not as big of a deal, but it's clearly, yet another incentive for us to, put ISO on our characters. And this war ready buff, essentially, if you're keeping your characters, let's say at level 3 ISO, because a lot of people, myself included, keep them at either 3 or 5. So now you've basically got to get all of your ones at ISO 3 green to ISO 4 in order to get this buff, because if you care about war, that's a big if. But and why is that? Well, now Cargo Bay, instead of giving 10 random positive effects to people within that room, now it gives 20% health, damage, armor, resistance, and focus to all war ready allies. So what's the bottom line here? I mean, now on top of barracks, on top of med bay, your characters are getting all of these other stats, and you now have another global room to deal with. In other words, Cargo Bay is super important as well, just like armory, hangar, barracks, whatever. So you've got, taking that out quickly is going to be important. And on top of that, there's just so much health and resistance and whatever out there, it changes the way fights work. And particularly with resistance, you can have a situation where just things are getting resisted that you wouldn't expect, characters that you thought, were going to be okay or not, that sort of thing. Hangar now gives 10% to health, damage, armor, resistance, and focus to all attacking allies. So Hangar's more important than it once was. I mean, getting a deflect is very significant nowadays, particularly for certain teams like Shadowland, but getting 10% health, damage, armor, resistance, focus, way more important. This is just for attack, so it's similar to the way Hangar works and the fact that it only helps your attacking units. But now, to me, you're essentially, you're attacking. Cargo Bay is global, so it looks like I think it affects both defense and offense. So in any event, and let me just I'm going to verify that to make sure. I'm going to check right now. No, I'm sorry. So Cargo Bay is only defending. So I apologize for that. So I just wanted to make sure I'm completely accurate. So Cargo Bay is for defending allies. Defending war-ready allies. Hangars for attacking. So Cargo Bay is basically like med bay barracks, but on top of that, Now there's this new thing. Hangar has been replaced. And then Bridge now has the old cargo bay bonus. So now Bridge, instead of having counter, has the 10 positive effects. So that's just gonna be another pain in the butt room to deal with. Okay. Now there's two other features that I do want to mention because I think they are important and are gonna I think players are gonna like them. And the first one is you now can mark a room not to be attacked. In addition to marking, okay, attack this room, everybody, you can say don't attack, this other room, which can be very helpful, right? You can say don't attack this player, attack that one, this side of a room or whatever. That could help your more your members who are more challenged at following instructions. It doesn't prevent them from doing it. It's just like the marking of the room. In other words, you can mark a room and your alliance mates can ignore it. And be like, yeah, we're going to attack the room you didn't mark. And the same is true here. You can mark a room not to be attacked, and your members of your alliance can ignore your instruction not to attack. But nonetheless, at least it's another way to do it. I think it's a positive move. And then this is by far the best part of the change, practice mode. So you now can go in your alliance's helicarrier at any time. Doesn't have to be wartime. It can be any time. And you can just practice whenever you want. You now have a play mode where you can practice. You get the war buff. So when you play against your let's say your alliance mates heroes for hire, you can play 100 times in a row and practice that fight, and they will have all of the war defense buffs. So they will, get the charge and revive and all that stuff. Your characters on offense will also have the buffs. Now, they will not have the global buffs. They will not get medbay and barracks and the war ready and all that. They'll be stripped down to their normal stats on both sides, but your war offense abilities will work. Your war defense abilities and features will work. It's really, really good way of learning the game. It's one of the best things that they've done to the game in a long time, in my opinion. So if that goes live, I think that will be amazing for players. I think that's going to be universal positive. So if I had to summarize these changes, what I would say is practice most, great. Not marking, marking rooms not to be attacked, great. The fact that you don't have to pay for this extra stuff, that's great. Like paying for these rooms and whatever, that's great. The fact that there's additional rooms, I think some people like it, some won't. I think probably more players will dislike that. But, there's winners and losers there. People with super deep rosters are the winners. Newer players, people with more narrow and focused rosters don't benefit. I'd say on average, you could say, okay, free to play doesn't benefit, but people who've been playing a long time, may want to use their older teams. There's people who've built up a lot of the older teams and want to be able to do something with them. So I think it's more of a wide versus narrow roster thing. But I think the big controversial feature here is the way that they now give you all this energy up front and energy very quickly and basically make the wars last 4 to 6 hours. The reality, very, very quickly, they're effectively over. As a practical matter, I think what that's going to end up doing is it's going to mean that, a war will last less time. So in that sense, you could say, okay, this reduces the amount of time in the game. But it also means though that you basically the alliance that has everyone on there in the beginning is going to win, even more so than before, because you have so much energy you can just rush the globals. The other thing that I did not mention in here, I forgot to, and I left out of my PowerPoint, but it's super important, is the feature from the last time where you can attack 4 rooms at once instead of 2 is still in there. So I did not put that in here, but that is, in fact, a new feature. So what does that mean? Well, that means that effectively you can clear twice as fast. So you can, attack, you can attack twice as fast as before instead of attacking two slots per room. You can attack 4 slots. You're going to have all this energy. You're going to be getting more energy fairly quickly. so you can just kind of go in and rush. It's a very different feel, and the wars, I think, as a result, are all about getting that activity in the beginning, even more so than they are now. All right, guys. If you like this video more than I like the war changes, please smash that like button. Subscribe to this channel. If you have comments, features, what do you think? What feedback do you want me to give? I will tell you, I will happy to pass your feedback on this to the devs. I will do that like I did last time and collect your comments. So what I would just ask you to do is put your comments below, or also just go to my Discord. That's linked below. Leave your comments there. I did collect a lot of them last time and did sort of kind of here's the bullet points of here's what people are talking about. So if you have views on this and you want me to express them, please post them, and I will be looking for your comments.